Emmerdale tease that the rolling acres of home farms' outlying fields are about to play host to a battle for power, profit, and pride, one that will leave long-standing loyalties tested and the very soil of the village shaken. The dawn mist clung low across Moira's fields, tendrils of vapor curling around the neat rows of young shoots that had sprung up beneath Lewis's careful tending. In the pale orange light of early morning, each dew-laden leaf glistened like a promise of future abundance. To anyone passing by, it was a scene of pastoral tranquility, yet beneath the calm surface, a storm was brewing. From the windows of Home Farm's grand facade, Robert Sugden surveyed his domain with calculating eyes. The land was fertile, the location ideal, and Moira's stewardship had only increased its potential. He had watched, with barely concealed envy, as Lewis and his brother Daz poured their energies into the hidden garden at the edge of the field. Meticulous irrigation systems, state-of-the-art indoor lighting rigs, and a network of secure tunnels meant to evade prying eyes. Yet where they saw crop and clandestine profit, Robert saw opportunity, a chance to absorb Ross's holdings and expand his own empire. He had already begun planting seeds of doubt, planting rumors in the duck's head that Ross might sell, that Moira was considering a merger with Home Farm. Now, he planned to accelerate events. When Ross Dingle learned that Robert was moving to acquire property around Moira's fields, he had laughed it off at first. Robert wouldn't touch these old pastures with a barge pole, he told Paddy at the Duke's, nursing a pint. But the certainty faded when invitations to view the land arrived, formal letters stamped with Robert's crest, offering lucrative sums and promises of joint ventures. Ross's pride bristled. These fields had been in his family for generations, and he would not surrender them so easily. Meanwhile, Lewis Sugden, Ross's former ward and current partner in the riskiest enterprise Emmerdale had seen in years, felt the first tremors of alarm when he discovered that several of his most prized plants had disappeared overnight. The advanced hydroponic setup he and his brother had designed was tamper-proof, or so they believed. The steel-reinforced vault beneath the barn was sealed with biometric locks. Yet somehow, Robert's men had breached it, making off with dozens of fully mature cannabis plants worth a small fortune on the black market. Lewis's heart sank at the betrayal. Not only had his livelihood been stolen, but the very work of his hands. At dusk, Lewis and Daz gathered in the barn's dim interior, lamps casting long shadows across overturned pots and shattered glass. Daz's face was twisted with anger. He's crossed the line this time, he spat, wrenching a grow light from its fixture. Robert's gone too far. He thinks he can muscle in on us, but we won't stand for it. Lewis ran a trembling hand through his hair. We need to be smart. He's already got everyone thinking Ross will cave. If we make a move now, it'll look like we're the aggressors. But the deeper worry lay elsewhere. Matt Carter, tasked by Ray Crosby to deliver a fresh harvest by month's end, was in a bind. Ray's patience was as thin as the village's goodwill toward illegal operations, and Mac had staked his reputation on compliance. Now, without Lewis's crop, Mac faced a wrath far fiercer than any rabble-rousing. Late that night, he called Ray from a secluded spot near the riverbank, voice hushed. It's gone, mate. Someone took it. On the other end, Ray's reply crackled with menace. Get it back, or you're as good as dead to me. Mac's pulse thundered in his ears as he ended the call. The weight of that promise sat heavy in his chest. Word of the theft spread quickly through the dales. Chatterson corner gossip spoke of a shadowy figure seen near Moira's barn at twilight. Others whispered that Robert's driver had been spotted hauling pallets into Home Farm's storeroom. In the Woolpack, Faith Dingle raised an eyebrow when she saw Kane Sullivan slip in, his coat dusted with earth. You look like you've been digging for treasure, she teased. Kane shot her a dark look. More like defusing a bomb. He took his seat in the far corner, phone pressed to his ear, fingers tapping out a terse message. By morning, alliances had shifted. Ross, blindsided by the theft, found unexpected support in Moira. She refused to believe that Lewis or Mac had acted rashly, pointing instead toward Robert's known ambitions. Over thermoses of tea in the caravans outside the fields, Ross laid out his case. "He's trying to squeeze us out," he told Moira, his jaw set. "If he owns every inch, no one can stand against him." Moira, torn between loyalty to Ross and the potential financial security Robert dangled, nodded thoughtfully. "We need proof," she said. "Something concrete that ties Robert to the theft." The next day at the auction yard, Lewis made his move. Slipping into Home Farm's offices under the pretense of negotiating a lease renewal, he planted a series of covert cameras near the loading bays and office windows. With Daz acting as lookout, Lewis recorded the comings and goings, unmarked vans pulling into Robert's garage after dark, SIM cards being swapped in phones, a delivery manifest listing agricultural supplies that grossly understated the volume of goods removed. Every frame was a nail in Robert's coffin, if only Lewis could extract them unobserved. But Robert was no fool. He had already sensed the Dingle's suspicions and tightened security. When Lewis attempted to retrieve the memory cards, he found the cameras dismantled, the wires cut. A note scrawled on the desk read simply, "Back off." Lewis's blood ran cold. Robert was watching them too. As tension mounted, Mac wrestled with his own guilt. He knew that Ray would come looking, or worse, send someone, if Mac did not resolve the missing stock. The promise to Ray weighed on him like an anchor. He confided in Daz one night in the barn loft, voice barely above a whisper, "If Ray's men come sniffing around Weatherfield, they won't care whose fields they trample. They'll burn everything down to get their pound of flesh." Daz placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll find another way. We always do." Amid the scheming and suspicion, Ross and Lewis recognized a single truth: they needed allies, and fast. Ross turned to Kane, who owed him for past favors, and together they planned a recon mission to intercept the next Home Farm shipment. Under cover of darkness, they would tail Robert's lorries, hoping to uncover the warehouses storing the stolen plants. Meanwhile, Daz reached out to Nicola King, whose contacts in the black market distribution network might prove invaluable. If they could forge a temporary alliance. Desperate though it was, they might retake what was rightfully theirs. Yet as they laid their plans, another figure watched from the fringes, Mac's younger sister, Ella. She had her own reasons to fear Ray, promises he had made to her brother that now seemed impossible to keep. In her mind, the only way to protect Mac was to strike preemptively. If she could retrieve the missing crop herself and place it somewhere Ray would find it, perhaps she could buy them time. But doing so would pit her directly against Ross and Lewis's efforts, risking a dangerous three-way conflict. The village held its breath as Emmerdale's key players circled one another like wary predators. Loyalties blurred, ambitions ignited, and the once quiet farmland became the stage for a high-stakes game. Who would make the first move? Would Robert's empire-building be thwarted by the combined resourcefulness of Ross and Lewis? Or would the darker forces represented by Ray's relentless pressure and Mac's faltering promises plunge the whole community into chaos? As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in blood-red streaks, the fields of Moira Dingle lay silent witness to the gathering storm. And when the first gunmetal shadows of night crept across the soil, they carried with them the promise of conflict, betrayal, and a reckoning that would change Emmerdale forever. Dawn broke again over Moira's fields, but this time the light felt colder, an omen of the battles to come. Ross Dingle crouched at the edge of the hedgerow, binoculars pressed to his eyes, watching the Home Farm lorry trundle along the farm access road. Beside him, Kane Sullivan checked the tracker taped to the underside of the vehicle. "It's going to Grantham," Kane muttered, voice low. "So they're moving the stock out of the village." Ross's jaw clenched. We intercept before it leaves the county. Lewis, Daz, you ready? Across the lane, Lewis Sugden wiped sweat from his brow, despite the early chill. He and his brother waited in Daz's battered Land Rover, engine ticking in idle. Their improvised convoy stretched beyond the hedge. Nicola King's unmarked van lurked around the corner, its sliding door ajar, engine off. Mac Carter hovered nearby on his motorbike, helmet under his arm, face pale. Each man's eyes sparkled with determination and fear. Ray Crosby's threat still echoed in Mac's mind, bring it back, or don't bother coming back at all. As the home farm lorry passed, Kane signaled. Ross and Kane burst from their hiding place, racing across the sodden grass. The lorry swerved, brakes squealing, before coming to a halt. Lewis and Daz slid out of the Land Rover, Nicola leaped free of her van, and Mac revved his bike menacingly. Robert Sugden, at the wheel of the lorry, froze when he saw the small army advancing. He held up a hand. Easy. What's this about? Ross strode forward, eyes blazing. You've got Daz and Lewis's crop. You're shipping it out. Hand it over, Robert. Robert's face darkened. I paid for that land fair and square. Those plants are on my soil now. Lewis stepped up, fists clenched. That barn under Moira's fields. We built it. We risked everything. Those plants belong to us. Daz unzipped his jacket, revealing bruised knuckles. We want them back before Ray's men decide to come look here. A tense silence fell. Robert's gaze flicked from Ross to Lewis to Mac's anxious figure by the motorbike. You're mixing me up in your gangster games, he said. If Ray comes snooping, I'll lose home farm. Nicola advanced, voice cool. Then don't lie. We have proof your men raided our vault, security footage, eyewitnesses. You've opened this can of worms. Now put it right. Robert's lip curled. You think you can blackmail me? Ross pulled a small thumb drive from his pocket. We don't think, we know. You want to keep your empire, you roll back your deal with Ross. You return the plants here, and you leave us be. For a heartbeat, Robert hesitated. Then, with a curt nod, he pointed to the back doors of the lorry. Fine. Unload everything, now. But if one seedling goes missing, I'll come for you all. He climbed down as Lewis barked orders. Under Nicola's watchful eye, Daz and Mac began unloading crates. The plants, their dense scent hanging in the air, were laid out on a tarpaulin, hundreds of them, healthy and green. Ross's chest tightened with relief when he saw the familiar leaf shapes. Mac let out a shaky laugh. Ray'll have my head, but at least we won't be empty-handed. By midday, a makeshift storage barn, Ross's old animal shed, was filled to the rafters. Daz secured tarpaulins over the entrances, while Lewis reconnected irrigation lines. Ross paced outside, phone pressed to his ear. Moira. Yes, everything's back where it belongs. I'll sort you out with rent adjustments later. His shoulders sagged when he hung up. We've won the battle, but the war's not over. Kane approached, pulling Ross into a quick side hug. You did good, mate. But remember what Robert said, one missing seedling. Nicola crossed her arms. I have contacts who can muddle up Robert's paperwork, banks, land titles. He'll wonder how Moira's rent got paid twice. Ross shrugged. We don't need to go full guerrilla. Just keep an eye on home farm and make sure Ray doesn't send shock troops here. Mac looked from face to face, guilt writ plain. I'm sorry, lads. If I hadn't mixed our sale with Ray's shipment, none of this would have happened. Lewis placed a hand on Mac's shoulder. We're past that. Now let's focus on staying ahead. Meanwhile, Hidden cameras in Robert's own barns recorded a frantic exchange. Ray Crosby himself had arrived in Emmerdale, flanked by 2 hulking enforcers. He stood opposite Mac, whose legs shook involuntarily. Ray's dark eyes bore into Mac's. "You promised me crop by tonight," he growled. "Where is it?" Mac swallowed, voice cracking. "It got stolen, Ray. I'm helping Ross get it back." Ray's lip curled into a snarl. "Ross? You think he gave a damn about your ass? No. You stole from me and handed it to my rivals. Now I decide if you live." Mac's heart hammered. "Please, wait. I can make it right." Ray circled him like a predator. "Then you better." Back at Ross's barn, Mac broke the news. Ross's face darkened as he absorbed the gravity. "Ray's coming here unless we deliver." Kane cursed. "We can't ship it to him, he'll find the whole stash." Daz ran a hand through his hair. "We need a diversion. Something big enough to distract Ray's men, but small enough we can handle." Nicola's voice cut in. "I can arrange a fake shipment, trailers loaded with scrap that go to an old yard outside the village. Ray's cronies will follow that." Lewis nodded. "Meanwhile, we slip the real batch to a trusted courier, someone Ray won't recognize." Ross's gaze landed on Carla's haulage contact, Pete. "Pete's done odd jobs for me. He owes a favor. We'll seal the deal tonight." That evening, under a silvering moon, Ross, Kane, and Mac loaded half the recovered plants into 2 innocuous wooden crates stamped livestock feed. Nicola's van, repainted and unmarked, waited by the farm gate. Daz and Lewis oversaw the remainder, rigged to a hidden door in the back of the grove. As Pete's old Land Rover rumbled in, Ross climbed in to brief him. "Take these to Brooksby Yard," he said. "Unload at Dock 3. Don't deviate." Pete's leather-lined hand gripped Ross's shoulder. "Got it. No questions." Meanwhile, in the grove, Nicola's contact, an ex-Harrogate dealer named Paula, stood ready to shepherd the true plants across county lines in a discreet refrigerated van. Moments later, Nicola's phone buzzed. "They've taken the bait," she whispered. "Ray's men are following Pete. He's on Marsh Lane." Back at Ross's, the stolen half of the crop basked under the grow lights, untouched and safe. Lewis exhaled. That was too close. Mac collapsed onto an overturned bucket. "I owe you all more than I can say." But the day's triumph was tempered by one dark shadow. Robert stood in Home Farm's boardroom, arms spread across the polished tabletop. By his side was Ross's old rival, John Barton, keen to sell outdated machinery, but ever eager to undercut the Dingles. "Crosby's on the prowl," Robert murmured. "He'll sniff out the fake unless we give him something real." Barton cracked his knuckles. "We could offer him a small sample, enough to satisfy him, but not enough to ruin you." Robert's lip twitched. "Use the leftover 10 plants. Let Crosby think the rest's elsewhere. Then I'll call in the debt he owes me from my Shoreditch venture." He tapped a finger. "I'll have Crosby eating out of my hand, and once he's indebted, Ross and Lewis won't dare cross me again." Far from the boardroom, in the sleepy streets of the Dales, Mac received a call. He answered on the second ring. "Mac," Ray's voice rasped. "Bring me the 10 plants. No tricks." Mac swallowed. "I'll have them for you by dawn." Ray clicked off. Mac's shoulders sagged. He knew what he had to do. Under cover of a moonless night, Mac crept back into the grove with a canvas bag. He counted 10 potted plants, each laced with dew. His hand shook as he cut each stem free from the irrigation lines. He stuffed them gently into the bag, trying not to crumple the leaves. In the distance, a fox's shriek sliced the stillness. Mac froze, stomach knotting. Was that footsteps? Had Ray's men found him already? But no, only the wind sighed through the trees. He slung the bag over his shoulder and made for the rendezvous point by the riverbank. Halfway there, a hand seized his arm. Mac yelped and spun to see Kane's torchlight flood his face. "What are you doing?" Kane hissed. "You promised to stick with the plan." Mac swallowed, voice trembling. "I have to. It's Ray. He'll kill me if I don't bring him something." Kane's jaw clenched. "You betrayed us. Ross, Lewis, you think they'll protect you? They'll see this as a threat on all our lives." Mac tried to pull free, but Kane's grip was iron. "Let me go." Mac's plea echoed. Suddenly, headlights swept across the undergrowth. Two black SUVs veered onto the muddy track. Ray's men. Kane shoved Mac behind a bramble. "Stay quiet." He emerged as Ross and Daz materialized from the shadows, weapons drawn. They aimed at the approaching vehicles, bullets zinged past, shattering twigs. The SUVs skidded to a halt. Doors flew open, two of Ray's heavies charged, shotguns raised. Ross fired a warning shot overhead. Daz ducked behind Mac's Land Rover. Kane gripped his sidearm, heart thunderous. "Don't shoot him," one of the goons barked. "Where's the shipment?" Ross stepped forward, hands raised. "We lost it, Crosby. The deal's off." Mac stole a glance at Kane, an unspoken apology. Ray's enforcers advanced, but a piercing siren wailed in the distance. Robert's private security detail, tipped off by Nicola's misdirection, was closing in from the opposite direction. The heavies froze. In the chaos, Ross seized a moment. He tackled the nearest enforcer, wrenching the shotgun free. Daz knocked another to the ground. Kane disarmed the third before he could raise his weapon. Mac emerged, bag of plants in hand, his resolve hardening. "It's over," he said, voice steady now. "Ray lost." The SUV's engines spluttered back to life as their drivers realized the tables had turned. They retreated down the track, tires churning mud. Ross watched them go, chest heaving. "Let them run this story back to Crosby," he said. "We want him thinking there's nothing left here." By cockcrow, the grove was silent. Ross, Lewis, Daz, Kane, Nicola, and Mac gathered under the tarps, triumphant yet exhausted. The real crop lay intact, and Ray's immediate threat had been diffused, for now. But Lewis's voice cut through the relief. "Robert will retaliate. He'll up the ante." Ross nodded. "Then next time, we hit him harder, expose his secrets, leverage what he fears most." Daz smirked. "He's built on sand. We just need to find the right push." Nicola crossed her arms. "My contacts can unearth his Shoreditch debts, smear him to the banks. Before long, Home Farm might be up for sale again, this time at a discount." Kane chuckled. "And Ross Dingle will be there to pick it up." As the men dispersed into the pale dawn, Mac lingered. He stared at the bag of plants, its weight suddenly meaningless. The adrenaline had faded, leaving a hollow ache. Lewis clapped him on the back. "It's done, mate. You're free of Crosby's debts." Mac managed a shaky grin. "Free? I hope." Ross stepped forward, placing a hand on Mac's shoulder. "You're part of this family now. No one gets left behind." The sun rose behind them, light burning away the mist and illuminating the verdant fields that had been their battlefield, and perhaps their salvation. Far above Home Farm, a solitary crow wheeled in the sky. Its call was a reminder that in the Dales, peace was always temporary, and that the next conflict, the next twist, was only ever one shadow away. Soon, loyalties will fracture, and new alliances will form. As Robert unveils his counterstrike, Ross expands his influence, Lewis refines his operation, Mac seeks redemption beyond his past mistakes, and Ray plots a comeback more furious than ever. In Emmerdale, the fields of promise are also fields of peril, and no one, it seems, can sow seeds of peace when power and profit are at stake.